I'm turning Japanese. I think I'm turning Japanese. I really think so. Welcome along to the Guy and Harley podcast, live from Tokyo, live from Japan. My name is Harley Neville.
And I'm Guy Pigden. And
Good start to the show.
it was good. It was a good start. It was a good start. So, welcome along to the Guy and Harley podcast, the Olympic edition. You are at the Olympics right now. As we speak, you are in the heart
Yeah.
of, what's that thing called where all the athletes stay?
COVID. The Olympic Village.
Yeah, you're in the heart of the Olympic Village because you're at the Olympics to broadcast the Olympics. Isn't that right?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And as everybody knows, I am an athlete, an Olympian, and yes, I'm here live. No, where I really am is I'm in my hotel room in Kawagawa, which is about an hour and a half south of Tokyo. I'm nowhere near the athletes' village. As mentioned on previous episodes of the show, I'm not allowed to be within 2 meters of any athletes at any point. And I am, in fact, working on the sailing, so I'm not even anywhere near anything really. I'm been working every day on a little island in a fenced off compound, and every day I wake up in my hotel, I get on the bus, and then I get to the compound. I sit there for 12 hours, and then I get back on the bus, and then I go back to the hotel, and that's what I've been doing every day for the last 14 days or so, until that is yesterday. I had my first day off work, and I finally got to enjoy some sights and sounds. And I went for a walk up a big, beautiful hill on Enoshima Island. So you guys can Google that, Enoshima Island, see what it looks like. And so I walked up there. Took about 2 hours, lugging my fat ass up this hill. And then I went to the beach afterwards, which was lovely. And while I was there was some a woman showed up wearing like a Sailor Moon type outfit on the beach, and she had like shoes on, and the knee-high socks and all that type of stuff, and the short skirt. And her mate showed up with a camera, and then she started frolicking in the waves. And I thought to myself, golly, this was a pretty cool experience. And then it was kind of funny because the lifeguard came up to them and was like, can you insta bitches get out the fucking way, please? And made them move along somewhere else, which is crazy. It's crazy if you ask me. Hey, you guys can stay right there in my zone. But this guy's a professional, I guess, and he told them to. These guys they were in like probably 15 centimeters of water at most. But he was like, move it along, you insta bitches.
He's seen too many Sailor Moon cosplayers in his time, and he's jaded.
He's jaded by it. It's not as special for him as it was for me.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Well, so you
she was rolling around in the waves, and the waves were like pushing her skirt up, and it was pretty porno. And then I went and asked, so I got my courage up, and I wandered over at some point, and I said konnichiwa, and they said konnichiwa, and then I said, do you speak English? And they were like, no. And then I was like, are these photos for Instagram? And they were like, no, it's just for photography. Sorry. And I was like, okay. And then I walked away.
Yeah, so far, your trip to Japan, to the Olympics, to the historical Olympics, the travel that you've been through to get there, and we'll talk about that in a second. But this trip, essentially what you've done so far on your trip is walk up a hill. The only thing that you fucking couldn't do in New Zealand, because we don't have enough of those in New Zealand, hills that you can walk up.
Hills and beaches. We don't have hills and beaches in New Zealand.
So you say that you're on Enoshima, which is an island, right?
Yeah.
Off the coast of Japan, right? So is it like sort of has a city on the island or a town or something?
No.
It's got
No,
nothing.
it's not. It's you can walk out to the island because it's got a bridge going out to it.
Okay,
So it's really a man-made peninsula now,
I see.
and basically you walk out there and there's a few like touristy spots and there's temples and there's the yacht harbor, the Enoshima yacht harbor, and that's where I'm based. But my hotel is not on the island. The island's too small for that, I think.
Right.
So so yeah, that's not where I am. But they're in a state of emergency in Tokyo, and a state of emergency has been expanded out to the surrounding prefectures,
Yep.
including my one, which is where I am now, Kanagawa. It's been expanded out there, so all the bars are not supposed to open at all. I don't think. Like if you go to a bar and order a beer, they'll sell it to you, but they'll tell you to take it away. So they'll just sell it to you at a bar price, and then you got
Shit.
to walk out on the street with it. Yeah. So you're better off to go to like the Family Mart, which is like a quickie mart type thing, and just buy them there if you're gonna have to walk around the street with them. So and yeah, lots and most places are meant to close at 8 p.m. as well. But I am noticing a few rule breakers.
Mm.
So
A few rebel
for example,
rousers.
yesterday, a few rebel rousers. And I have been a little concerned about COVID because it would really fuck up my day if I failed a COVID test just before getting on my plane because they wouldn't let me on my plane. And then if I don't get on the plane, then I obviously I'm stuck in Japan for like at least 2 weeks in some sort of isolation. I don't know who pays for that, but then I would also have to um, miss my MIQ slot in New Zealand, my isolation slot in New Zealand, and so who knows how many months it would be before I could get another one of those. So it's quite a big deal to fail my COVID test at this point. So I've been trying to be careful, but I don't know. People seem pretty lax about it. Everyone seems pretty chill about the COVID thing. They're like, whatever.
Right.
I mean, everyone's wearing masks. All the Japanese are wearing
Yeah.
masks, but I feel like a lot of my colleagues, my international colleagues, might be a little lax on it. Maybe it's because I'm from New Zealand, and so we've got this strict, COVID is the devil type thing.
Mm.
Whereas people from the UK and that are like, well, we've been living with it for the last year and a half,
I mean,
and we just go about our
it's
business.
strange though because if anything, it should be the other way around. We should be,
But I'm like, hey, dude, whatever.
yeah. Whereas they should be like, COVID is the devil because we have been living in hell for the last year and a half, as evidenced
Yeah.
by these ongoing lockdowns. Can't work, can't do anything. The travel's shut down, all those sorts of things. So they're the ones that should be like high alert, and you're the one that should be like, "Hey, dudes, this is all
It's all good.
this whole thing's pretty crazy, right?"
Yeah.
Yes. So we
But actually, I think because they've been living with it for so long and they never locked down properly in the first place, and they're kind of like, well, this is just the way it is now. We just walk around with masks and do all this stuff. And
well, it
just,
has
yeah,
been a while since we did a COVID edition of this of the podcast.
yeah,
Because we've been living in a state of serenity again for the last pretty extended period of time now. But there is some interesting sort of factors now coming into play with COVID, which is this whole idea of like the vaccination or the vaccinations completely losing their effectiveness because of the large movement of anti-vaxxers that are essentially going to ruin the potential of herd immunity for the population at large, therefore sort of meaning that these vaccinations are going to lose their effectiveness, especially over sort of, a period of the next, 6 months to a year, because the whole way to sort of eradicate COVID as a constant presence in our life is a herd immunity through those immunizations. And what they're saying now is that is becoming problematic because of people's attitudes towards getting the vaccination. And
yeah,
also is maybe just not possible. And then this idea that rather than COVID, because, when we talked about it, we were like, COVID's, it's going to be around. We weren't like, COVID's going to be gone soon. But like, it's going to be around. But, a couple of specialists talking about it's going to be around for like decades. And
yeah.
it's like, oh, okay, well, if it's around for decades, what exactly is New Zealand's plan? Because
Yeah.
what essentially, yeah, of course, we've closed the borders, but does that mean our borders are now going to remain closed for the next decades?
Yeah. Well,
What's the sort of solution thinking, or are we going to sort of get to the point where we manage this herd immunity thing with our vaccinations? Is that going to be the thing we do? So,
yeah.
so there's that
Well,
question as
I
well.
did. I remember asking that very question in the earlier days on this show, and suggesting that what we might do is we might become the South Pacific, no, the North Korea of the South
Mm,
Pacific, where we are this isolated nation that's not properly trading with everyone, and we don't have proper tourism, and it's difficult to get in and out, and all that type of thing. So that maybe that's going to be our future, but I don't know. I kind of feel like what's really going to happen is the virus is it till it boosts, right? So what's going to happen is a variant of the virus which is highly contagious but much less deadly, effectively like the flu, the common flu. And so as a result, eventually it evolves itself to be less deadly and more catchy. And then every year we just have to get an immunization for it, just like the normal flu. They get a vaccine for it if you want, just like the normal flu. But if you get it, it's not the end of the world. But it'll take a little while for that to happen. And in the meantime, a bunch of people will die.
and in the meantime, we're in deep trouble. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I joked with some of my colleagues here about going and singing karaoke while I'm in Japan, because I was like, obviously that's like the worst possible thing you can do.
Yeah.
You're in a room full of people. You've got a microphone which everybody's passing around and yelling onto, and everyone's Yahoo, and there must be droplets going fucking everywhere. Well, last night after dinner, I went with some of my colleagues. So they said, "Oh, we're going to this other bar," and I was like, "All right, sweet as." We'd had a quiet dinner, sort of thing, and then I walk into this bar, and it is packed with heaps of people, as well as the locals, but also a bunch of my colleagues, and they're all singing karaoke. And it turns out that the reason this place was open at all, because it was late at night, is because there was a higher power in control of that bar. And I'm not talking about Jesus. I'm talking about the
The
Yakuza.
Yakuza. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and so apparently they could stay open because obviously the rules don't apply to them.
Yep.
And the deal was you walk in there, you pay 3,000 yen, which is about 39 New Zealand dollars ish, and you can drink as much as you want all night, anything you want. They'll just give it to you, $40, and you're just sitting there singing and drinking. But I was in there and I was like not really that comfortable with it. A because of COVID, and B because it was a loud, small, hot space, and I'm not big on those loud, small, hot spaces at the best of
Yeah.
times. Hang out, but everyone was breathing all over each other, and it was all unventilated. And I was there for like probably, I think it was less than an hour, but I was there. And I did at one point even hold the COVID mic and sing a song into it at one point. So now I feel like I feel dirty. I feel dirty. I don't know, Guy, if you've ever let a rugby team run train on your ass with no condoms. But I can tell you that it feels great at the time, but then afterwards, you sort of feel dirty and full of remorse and concerned for your health. And that's how I feel right now. I feel like I've got COVID in all of my crevices.
Yeah. It does definitely sound very dubious.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly how. Yeah.
That's how we got into this
Um,
mess.
but on the flip side, you have had your vaccination, so
And
you
so
have
have
to
most of
hope
them.
that it holds
That it does its
fast.
job. Yeah. Well, same with all of my colleagues. They've had it too. But the good news is that it won't show up in my, the COVID won't show up until I'm already in isolation in New Zealand. So I
Thank
don't have
God.
to worry about failing my test today. I'll still be able to get on the plane and spread it around all over the plane.
I was gonna say it'd be a pretty amazing story if you, the the person who has kept the safest up until this point here in New Zealand, gets COVID over there, brings back the
Mm.
Delta variant over here, and is responsible for another lockdown. Harley Neville. is responsible for another lockdown
Yeah,
from his karaoke
yeah,
shenanigans.
The Harley Neville lockdown. Yeah. Well, I apologize in advance, New Zealand. I'm bringing home the COVID, the Delta variant.
So, and I should also say that I do I'm a bit blocked up at the moment. I sound like shit. I look like shit. I feel like shit. And that is not because I have COVID, but probably because I have a bad cold. And that bad cold,
Or did you go and get a test for COVID?
I did not get a test for COVID. So I simply assumed that I didn't really have the COVID symptoms. I did have the cold symptoms, but not really any COVID symptoms. So I sort of banked on the fact that there is a cold going round, and that so I did not get a second test. I got a test last time I felt sick, but I also felt like last time felt more COVID-y to me than this time. This time I just stayed at home. Well, I did for the first couple of days anyway. But I'm still getting over it. And it actually meant that I was scheduled to have my COVID vaccination, but because I was sick, I could not have my COVID vaccination.
Ooh.
So I was scheduled to go on Saturday to have it, but I was just feeling super terrible, and I was like, also, I'm really sick, so I'm not going to get on a bus with a couple hundred people and spread this round what I have.
Why would you be on a bus?
So what they're
Like
doing
a fucking animal.
is mass vaccinations over here, mate. So so this is specifically for people based out south and who work for MIT. We all go somewhere. A big bus takes us. It's kind of weird. A big bus takes us to the event center, mass vaccinations, and we drive off on the bus. So that's why I'd be on a bus.
Okay.
So I missed out on my first vaccination, and now I'm just.
Well, you better get it before I get back, because I'll be living next door to you, and I'll have the COVID.
The danger will have passed, mate. The danger will have passed. That's what quarantine is for.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm going to keep some in my pocket.
Well.
I'm gonna keep a snotty tissue in my pocket.
Well, I'll recommend
I'm going to release the snotty tissue.
They do some testing on your stool as they have in the water supplies as they have been over here. I'll recommend your toilet as one of the sampling sites.
Yeah,
and that will get to the bottom of the matter.
If I was a terrorist, right, and I wanted to really fuck up New Zealand, that's what you could do. You could easily smuggle some COVID in and then just let it go somewhere.
100%.
It'd be like 12 Monkeys. I could be like the guy from 12 Monkeys, but with COVID.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea if you're a terrorist.
Well, as far as if there's any terrorists listening, you can have that one for free.
There's a free tip. So you've been at the Olympics. It was a whirlwind. I feel like you just left. To me, you just left yesterday. To you, you've been in essentially what is kind of like a prison camp for workers of the Olympics, really. A sort of a Rikers Island. What's that one, that real famous prison out on that island that no one ever escaped from? Oh, Alcatraz. So you've been essentially...
Two people did escape from that.
That's true. One of them was Clint Eastwood. And if you don't believe me, watch the movie. They did a documentary about the whole thing. It's called Escape from Alcatraz, actually. So anyway, you've been in an Alcatraz-like working situation. So it hasn't been tourism spots. It hasn't been befriending the locals.
No.
It hasn't been in the heart of the Olympic Village, chatting with world-class and perhaps even flirting with world-class athletes. As we mentioned on the previous podcast, I have slept with an Olympian. You have not.
True, I haven't.
And to be perfectly honest, I haven't either, but she would have been an Olympian had she continued, so I still count that. You've never brushed up against greatness like that. So all of these things you sort of thought you didn't really know what you were getting yourself into, but now you do. So where are you at? Was it worth it? You know, what has your day-to-day been like? We're having some technical difficulties. And we may have lost Harley. We may have lost Harley due to poor connection. Are you there?
I'm there. I can hear you. Should I switch to audio only? Should I?
Well, no, I wouldn't, because then we won't see you.
No. But you won't see me either if it's all paused. If it's all paused and broken. It is Tyler Adams on the live stream says that was the perfect freeze frame. That's good.
Yes.
But yeah, so I missed what you were saying, but I about Olympians, but I have been putting the moves on Laurel Hubbard. To no avail. She's not interested.
I don't even know who that is.
That's the New Zealand. She's represented New Zealand in the weightlifting. She's
I'm with you.
The first transgender Olympian.
Okay. I'm with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So essentially, you've done the Olympics with none of the Olympics.
Yeah.
You've essentially, and it does seem strange to me. It still seems a little bit strange to me that they couldn't have set up this truck where you're putting all these graphics up on the screen. They couldn't set up this production thing in New Zealand.
Well, given that we're doing it right now with this podcast.
Yep. And we're struggling.
Well, not a great with a great connection, to be fair, but we're struggling. But given that we could put graphics on this to do, there might even be graphics on the stream properly if you've set it up. So you know, why couldn't they do that from home? But look, I'm not going to complain, right? There's 126 million people in Japan. They've got to fly Harley Neville over to create the art that only Harley Neville can create. And so that works quite well for me. And I'm hoping to get in on the next one, which is going to be in Paris in 2024. So 3 years from now, if I did a good enough job, and if the company that hired me gets the contract for the next one, and if they choose to rehire me, I will do my damn best to be going to Paris in 2024. I better brush up on my French.
Are name tags considered art now?
I've only been brushing up on my French kissing. Name tags, I think you mean name keys. The term is name keys. And yes, they are art. And
they're graphic design.
It's not just name keys. It's also all sorts of other informative graphics, and the real art. The art doesn't come from what you see on screen. It doesn't come from the graphics itself. The art comes from the perfect execution of the broadcast, of putting those graphics on at the exact right moment to create the best broadcast you can. Working as part of a team, working with the director and all that type of thing, communicating effectively and efficiently, and all of the understanding what's going on in the room around you, even the stuff that's not related to you. And this is why they got to fly me out, pay me the big bucks, because there's only a few people that can do what I do. Artists.
Have you? Because now your days are pretty long, right? They're 12-hour days. Right?
Yeah. I wasn't expecting that. I was told that I was going to be working 4 to 6 hours, which is much closer to what I prefer, much closer to my usual working day, 4 to 6 hours. That's about right for me.
Normal target.
Yeah, and then I got here and it was 12 hours. But to be fair, most of it is not really working. I just had to be on a bus at 8 a.m. because of the COVID thing, so they had to travel us to and from. So the bus went when the bus went. So I required and more like 10 a.m. but I had to be at 7 at night. And then same with coming home, I had to wait for the bus. And then, so there was a lot of kind of sitting around and waiting in between. And then I had to finish at 10 p.m. I'd start at 9:30 a.m. and I'd get home about 10 p.m. So I'm almost doing those real working days. Jamie Oxley cruising in the Outback will be like, yeah, well, that's a normal working day, isn't it?
You're almost doing an honest day's work for once.
Yeah. Yeah, almost. I hope I never have to do one of those.
So,
Now I did. Um, yeah, well, I did. It might just be that I'm sort of a horny, lecherous old man,
could
but
be
I have
that, yeah.
noted that the virtually every woman in Japan is beautiful.
Mm.
Very beautiful people here. Good looking people. Uh, Very good looking, well presented, very attractive, all of them. Um, Now, obviously, I couldn't go anywhere due to my lockdown, and I would never be so irresponsible as to put the local community at risk or anything like that. But nevertheless, I did jump on Hinge just for research
Mm.
purposes.
Mm.
Sorry, the Hinge. Well, the weird thing is, I'm in the middle of Japan
Yep.
and surrounded by all these beautiful people,
Mm.
and Hinge keeps trying to match me with, frumpy white women.
Hmm.
So it's almost like Hinge knows,
Who you are.
who I am, and the
They,
kind of people
well,
that are likely to
I was
sleep
going
with
to say,
me.
Hinge knows your max stats, right?
Yeah, and obviously Hinge thinks I'm on that level, frumpy white girl level.
Hinge has checked your HP and your MP, judged it to be rather low, and matched you with
Yeah,
lesser enemies in the playing field. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I see that. That's kind of funny. So Hinge hasn't worked out for you, and in fact, you actually haven't had any time to do anything except work, except
Yeah,
for these last 2 days.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess I could have gone on a date tonight, or tomorrow night. But the thing is, right, if I'm in Japan and there's COVID, so I'm unlikely to be coming back anytime soon. And just say I met somebody, she's unlikely to be coming back to New Zealand with me. And I'm here for 2 more nights. So really, it becomes extremely obvious to anybody that I match with that, I'm really only there for one thing, right?
Mm.
Because it's like, hey, what are you doing? Cool, I leave on Saturday. What are you doing tonight? It's like, what is even the point of meeting? There's really only one point, and she would have to want that too.
Yes, she would. Well, really, that's why you've got to go. You've got to forget about Hinge, mate, and you got to get back on the old faithful.
What,
Go-
Bumble,
no,
Tinder,
Tinder. You got to get back
walking,
on Tinder. No,
walking the streets and
Tinder.
approaching strangers? No.
Well, I've heard some very. I've heard people get very good results from Tinder over in Japan. So
Oh, yeah,
just
yeah,
FYI, that's a free tip for you for the
yeah,
next 2 days. I'd
yeah,
be I'd be I'd be swiping like a madman if I was you.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, forget about Hinge, forget about convincing anything long term. Just turn it over to Tinder and let the dice fall where they may. Uh,
Mm,
so
mm.
that's my recommendation. So, because to me, this sounds like a horrible trip with very little upsides so
Mm.
far. Now, I mean, it's like you're doing all the bad parts of travel without any
Yeah,
of the good parts.
yeah.
Is,
It did
is
take me 33 hours to get
well, let's talk
from
about that.
when you took
Let's
me to
talk
the
about that.
airport, from
Yeah.
when you took me to the airport, right through to when I got into my hotel was 33 and a half hours.
Yeah.
That's a hellacious journey.
So yeah, let's talk about
So
that.
that's
You had to take two different flights, but what exactly happened when you got off the air? So this is after like 24 hours or something of traveling, or 20, however long those two flights were. You got off in Tokyo Airport, I'm assuming. What
Mhm.
happened then?
Well, I mean, I got so on the way there because there's nobody traveling internationally. At least I got like a big row to myself on both planes, so both
Nice.
trips. And the first one I stayed awake the whole time. The second one I lay down and slept the whole
Hmm.
time. So I bad, but I did sleep with my head on a farty COVID-19 filled seat
Mm.
the whole way there. And
Yep.
again, like on the plane and all that, I feel like there was no real social distancing. Like they were trying. but it was kind of all pretty relaxed, and you do have to wear your mask the whole time. So I'm sitting on a mask for 20 hours, sitting on a plane wearing a mask, and like every now and then you just want to take your mask off, but you can't. So what you have to do is you have to go into the little, the little toilet in there and take a shit just so that you can take your mask off and get some fresh air, just inhale all that fresh toilet shitty air, and take your mask off.
Which
and
is
then,
what
so,
everyone else is
when
doing, and then therefore giving everyone COVID in the bathroom.
Yeah, it's all those droplets in there. And so, no, I landed, and then they were like, "Cool, stand in this line." And then obviously I had no idea how long the line was, but the line snaked around the corner, and then we just sat there for ages, and then they took us along, and we sat somewhere else for ages, and then they took us along, and then we sat somewhere else for ages. But nobody communicated with us as to exactly what we were waiting for or what was going on. There was just no communication. And then we just were sitting there, and we were told we couldn't eat or drink because we had to do our test, and you're not supposed to eat or drink before a saliva test. And so I was just kind of waiting in a long line, and then getting to the front, and then giving somebody like my paperwork, and then they would go, okay, and then they'd give it back, and they would handle it. They'd look at my phone, and they would handle my phone. If anything of mine is covered in COVID, it's my phone, right? Because I'm staring at it all day. I'm touching door handles and touching my phone, and I'm breathing all over, putting it up to my ear and speaking, all of that stuff. And yet there's an app that I had to use to get clearance and show people things, and they would like pick up my phone and hold it, my COVID covered phone with their COVID covered phone, then give it back to me, and then we finally, got round, did the spit test, and then we had to wait for our result, like right then and there, which meant we just had to sit around for another few hours with nothing, like no anything. Nobody was like, and here's the toilets are over there, and you guys can drink some water now. There was just nothing, no communication. I was like, stand here, stand there, stand there. And then eventually, we finally got out of all of that. And we got taken to the bus, and I was like, okay, cool. So the bus is now taking us to the hotel, right? And they were like, oh no. The bus is taking you to the taxi, and then the taxi is taking you to the hotel. You're like, for fuck's sake. But yes, so that was pretty much the journey. But on the way back,
how long was all that queuing for?
I was about 7 hours. So I arrived at 8 a.m. and I got to my hotel at 6 p.m. So
in that queuing, as you just queue, like, were you just on the internet?
Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing?
I was just fucking around on my phone. I was talking to my colleague as well. I was traveling with one of my colleagues, so we hung out for the whole trip and talked and that. But yeah, basically sitting on my phone, posting on Facebook, trying to get some likes, get some reacts, get a little endorphin kick, make myself feel like a big famous celebrity, a big famous Facebook celebrity. This is all good content, obviously, for Facebook. All of my posts have been getting a lot of likes because I'm actually doing something interesting for once. It's just taking a fucking selfie somewhere.
So you got to the hotel after the 7-hour thing, and then like after all those queues, did you kind of pass through a thing to the bus? As you just passed through some doors to the bus waiting for you, sort of thing?
No, they just spat us out into the main public area.
Yep.
And they were just like, yep, you guys just wait here for the bus. And then some of the people went away and bought like sushi and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I and I needed to piss, so I went and used the public toilet.
Yep.
So it was very loose isolation. They weren't really keeping us separate. Now, to be fair, we were coming from New Zealand, but we had also passed through Singapore for 3 hours or something in Singapore.
Oh no. Connection is poor. We've lost Harley. Another hilarious freeze frame. We've lost him. Is he coming back? Oh.
I can hear you.
We just, so you said that you just stopped off in Singapore as well.
Yeah, and then I concluded by saying that you can see why this virus is spreading so well, because it's nobody's really taking it seriously enough. They're not really. They're not treating it like New Zealand's treating it. But do you want to know something interesting? I know how to fix COVID. I know how to solve it.
Mm.
I know we can be back on track very, very soon. All you do is listen to me. The whole world's just got to listen to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I will dictate what we do. Now, if you stop and you think about this for a second, right? A virus only spreads by contact, right? So that's why lockdowns work. That's why New Zealand's lockdown worked. We did that 6 week lockdown. Now, all these people complaining about needing to get vaccines, all these people complaining about the economy, all these people complaining about all of the stuff, all the dumb people, basically. All of these dumb people, you listen to me. We can fix this. I can fix this. Here's all we need to do. The entire world, all of us, the entire world
Yeah.
needs to go into one level 4 6 week lockdown.
Mm.
That's all it's going to take. In 2 months, we can have the economy wide open. No more vaccines required because the virus has died out because people haven't been interacting with each other. If the whole world just goes into lockdown for 6 weeks, we can get this sorted.
Mm.
I mean, it's pretty fucking, it's not really actually that difficult. Like obviously we're talking about trying to control,
The
several
entire
billion
world.
people.
Yeah.
It may be a little difficult, but like in terms of like what we need to do, it's actually quite a simple problem. You
Yes.
go,
Yes.
okay, cool. Well, let's just put money on pause for 6 weeks. Just pause the economy 6 weeks, and everybody can just live. We'll just have to figure out a way to distribute some food to people, and then 6 weeks. That's all it'll take. We're all done. COVID's finished. No decades of COVID. No bullshit. No vaccines. No economic impact beyond that 6 weeks. So that 6 weeks will cost billions, but COVID's already cost billions, and it's going to continue to cost billions more. So let's just do a 6 week lockdown. Duh.
Well, thank you, Harley. We'll pass that on to the world leaders, and we'll bring that up at the WHO summit,
Yeah.
the upcoming WHO summit, and yeah, we should be all good. So I'm glad that you've solved that. For if only you were around with this advice at the beginning of all this, we could have had nipped it in the bud by now.
Exactly. Exactly. Or if only I was some sort of dictator, some sort of all powerful dictator, and I could just control. I could just say to everybody,
Yeah,
all right,
and if they
6 weeks.
got things wrong, you'd send them to the concentration camps.
No,
To
if they get things wrong, I will send them along to the camps where they can be kept separate for 6 weeks and concentrate on getting rid of this virus.
Where they could
These
concentrate
concentration camps. Yeah.
on where they went wrong and look at
No,
doing
on
better.
getting rid of the virus. Just for 6 weeks, and then I'll let them back out.
So yeah, like to me, it sounds like a pure hellscape that you've really been in. With the only benefit being, income that obviously you haven't really, I'm assuming, been able to spend.
Well, I've spent a bit more lately now that I'm free.
Yeah.
But basically, I've just been spending money at the Family Mart.
Yep.
Or I'm getting 3 meals a day. It's kind of a shitty breakfast, but a decent lunch and a great dinner every day, and a different dinner every day. So that's been great. And then not paying for any flights or accommodation or bus transfers or anything like that. And I can't go shopping. I haven't bought any clothes or anything like that. So basically, the only money I've spent has been on like food and drink. So that is good. But it's actually not that bad. I've had a good time because I'm still like, my bubble was pretty big and pretty loose. So there's still a bunch of people that I'm hanging out with. Disconcertingly loose, really. Like people all piling into little balconies and partying at the hotel and that type of thing.
Mm.
And, like there's a balcony outside my room. And so I've been, I'll go out there for a drink sometimes, but not if there's too many people in there because the risk reward ratio is all out of whack. Because, basically I'm partying with a bunch of middle-aged men. And it's like, well, what do I risk? I risk getting COVID. What do I gain? I get to drink with a bunch of middle-aged men. And it's like, well, I drink with middle-aged men at the pub back home all the fucking time. I don't need to come to Japan to do that.
You don't. No.
I mean, there's no COVID risk. No COVID risk of doing it back home. Now, if it was a sort of a group of, international babes that wanted to party with me, well, that's different. In that circumstance, I could catch COVID from partying. And I could stand by my, because I lived life and I lost, but God damn it, at least I lived, whereas there's just no reward here to partying on this balcony with all these uh, old men. Um, so yeah, I haven't really been doing too much of that.
So these last 2 days that you're not working,
Yeah.
can you go anywhere?
Anyway, they've given me a special card so that I can go for free on the buses and the trains and go anywhere I want. I could be a super spreader if I wanted. I could go up to Tokyo for free. I can go anywhere I want for free with a special card on any train and any bus. But I just don't really have any intention to use it, to be honest. It's so
So
freaking
you're
hot.
not gonna. So you're not like on this last day go for some crazy sightseeing expedition to actually see some of the sights that you have not seen at all.
Nah, I really feel like I got that out of my system yesterday when I walked up the hill. It was a touristy hill.
When you walked up to the top of that hill.
Yeah, I walked up
An
the hill and then I went
experience,
to the beach.
an experience like no other.
Yeah. Uh,
Irreplaceable experience of walking up a hill and going to a beach.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so
No,
yeah.
I mean, we'll see, but I don't really imagine because I'm leaving not tomorrow but the next day. So I'd have to go and do it tomorrow. I'd have to make a big plan right now to go and see a bunch of things. And at the end of the day, I'm still trying to avoid COVID. I don't want to catch that shit. So I don't really want to be sitting around on buses and trains and all that type of stuff during a literal state of emergency, um, because I'd rather just not get sick. Don't want to do that. Don't want to get sick. Got too much shit going on, I want to get back, get through my isolation, and then it's all go. I'll be heading straight into the film festival. I've got plenty of stuff to do for the film festival. I'm producing that short film. I've got a short film directly after the festival. Plus, when I get back, I've got to make some money because I don't know how long it's going to take before I get paid on this from this job. I haven't even invoiced yet, but it'll probably take ages. So I've been paying rent this whole time I've been away, with no actual income coming into my bank account. So got to get back, got to get my work on, got to hustle on. And so yeah, I got shit to do. I don't want to be getting all sick. So I don't know. I feel like I've seen enough stuff. I've done enough stuff. I've conquered Japan. I've done it. I've done the Japan thing. It's all done now.
You've seen a bus, you've seen a hotel room, you've been up a hill.
Yeah, into the beach.
What more is there to do in Japan?
Well, I don't even
It's
know.
all the same stuff.
Yeah. No, well, I would like to catch up with some filmmaker friends of ours, such as John Enos.
Yep.
And catch up with them, but I don't know where they are, and I'd have to do it tomorrow. So I'm just going to do what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to wash my undies and socks in the shower because I don't have any coins and I can't get any money out, so I can't use the washing machine.
Why can't you get money out?
So clean my undies and socks in the shower.
You can get money out.
My card wouldn't let me. No, my card wouldn't let me. So I've just been using my credit card for everything. So I don't have any coins. So I have to hand wash my undies. And which is difficult because they fight back, and then so that'll be me tomorrow, hand washing my undies, getting those dry before I fly, and that's really probably the end of it. Tonight I'm going to go out for dinner somewhere. I haven't figured out where yet, but I'll go and do something. I assume my colleagues will be partying, so maybe I'll go and party with my colleagues a little bit, as long as they're not in a karaoke bar, in a Yakuza karaoke bar. But also the day that I left, my ad started playing on in New Zealand. The ad that I acted in a while back, which we talked about on the show, the New World ad, which is now airing.
I thought you were going to say a whole new world of potential, or whatever you.
Yeah, well, it's out now, so it doesn't matter, right? But before it was out, we had to be discreet about what the product was.
Yeah.
But now it's out. Everybody knows. It's a New World commercial, and it's playing. I think it must be playing a bit because a few people have messaged me. And You've seen it, right, guy?
Yeah, I'm a hater.
Uh,
I would say. I would say I'm a hater.
you're a
Yeah,
hater.
I'm a hater.
I feel like
Do you know why I'm gonna? Almost think you can guess what I'm gonna hate about it. I almost feel like you can guess in relation to your specific part in it. Oh, um,
he's back. I got you.
so
Yeah. So they fuck my line
yeah,
because basically I deliver my line off camera.
correct.
Like I'm not off camera. I'm on camera, but it's not on my face.
Yeah.
So I say the line and then it cuts to me after I've said it.
It's fucking stupid.
Now I'm guessing it is no, but I'm guessing it was if you look at the screen grab that I shared on Facebook recently on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Guy and Harley.
Yeah.
You can see that I've taken a screen grab of it and put a link to watch it in the description of the photo. But you can see a big shadow from the camera on me, and so I reckon maybe they were bothered by the massive shadow.
Right.
But also, like the way it was written was one person says their line, the next person says their line. One person says, I bought this bottle of wine because I just like the pretty label. And someone else says, I feed my kids fish fingers 4 nights this week. And someone else says, I make bake sale cookies from a packet. And then in the script, I say, I'm not actually invited.
Mm.
Now that's funny.
It's funny stuff.
That's funny. That works. But then the way it's all cut together is they put my line right at the very, very, very end of the ad, sort of abruptly just kind of shoehorned in there, and it's not on my face when I say it. So I was like, well, that's weird.
Yeah, so that's why I'm a hater. It was just the edit is just wrong. The comedy beat is missed. And then they try and shoehorn in the comedy beat by cutting to your face after you've said it. But by then it's too late. What you needed is both the line and your face, and really the reaction of everyone else going, huh? If you really wanted to really execute that properly, and like where you say the line, so you say the line in the wide shot, which is kind of a weird wide in itself, because it's kind of you're kind of
behind me,
kind of like profiling, and after it was, and obviously this comes from a lack of coverage on the day of them just deciding, oh, this is what we'll do for the wide, because really we're gonna do the close up, so it doesn't even matter. It's probably how they thought about it when they shot it. But then it got edited in this wonky fucking way. But they should fire the fucking editor, is all I'm saying.
Well, they also whiz-panned to me every take. So there was not just a take where it was just on me and then I say my line. It was always a whiz-pan where it's whiz-panning from each actor to the next one. And that made sense in the original script. It just goes from one to the other to me. Whereas it doesn't, if they're on the wide shot at the very end of it and they still want to shoehorn in my line, they can't whiz-pan to me as easily, I don't think.
That's right.
Because it doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah, perhaps they run into an issue there then too with that. That whip has caused something. But I also have to imagine that you, being the consummate professional that you are, would have always waited for that whip to finish before delivering the line.
Yeah, of course. But it might be a very, very small pause because you've got to be quick, because they've got 60 seconds to tell this whole. So you can't be waiting around too long. And in fact, I had a line after my line. So my line was, I wasn't actually invited. And then the next bit was, I'll let myself out.
Which is also funny.
Yeah. And I start getting up, but that's all cut. They cut that out.
No, and in fact, they ADR in, oh, no, don't worry, you can stay. Or something like that right at the end. Like as if this fucking weird, crazy man that has wandered in to this group of presumably, friends, right?
Yeah, yes.
Or is somehow welcome to continue on this total nut bar stranger that should be arrested. Oh, don't worry about it. You can stay. Because you're shopping New World, mate. Or something. I don't know. It's fucking crazy.
New World Brotherhood. Yeah.
Total insanity.
Well, there was some ad-lib stuff there, some improv stuff there as well, where they were like, how did you get in? And I was like, oh, can you believe there was a key under your mat? And stuff like that.
Funny stuff.
But they decided.
Funny stuff.
They decided yeah, they were like another one that I was like, oh well, there was a gap in the hedge, and then the back door was unlocked, or something like that. And
Yeah.
then so, but they decided that was too creepy. They didn't want
So
to go that creepy.
it's
I
almost like,
delivered it in a non-creepy way though.
of course, you deliver in the "Oh, it's me, it's Wesley" delivery acting style that you're
Weasley,
so
my one-trick pony.
you're so so adept at. But they,
Yeah,
yeah, it's almost like they kind of tried to half renege on the joke a little bit, because maybe
yeah,
they're like, oh, we can't advocate stalkers. New
yeah,
World New World can't advocate stalkers, so we have to tone down this guy's stalkiness. How can we do that? Well, we'll take away his close up. Take away his close up. We'll get everyone else to go, no, it's all right. We'll invite him in, invite the stalker in, because that
yeah,
obviously makes it seem worse. And we'll take out his second joke there, because that really rams home the stalkeriness of it. So we take that out, and yeah, there we go. We've just destroyed a man's performance in the process,
yeah.
but who cares?
But fuck it, yeah. Well, it is interesting that, this is a sort of little known but extremely interesting trivia about Harley Neville's acting career. Jeff, Jeff. So they go at the end of the ad. They go, "Oh, what's your name?" And I go, "Jeff." And and they go, So Jeff from the New World universe
Yeah.
has a twin brother
Yeah.
named John who also shops at New World. He shops at the New the butcher. That's from the other ad that I was in, also for New World. My name is John in that one. I'm Jeff in this one, John in that one. Now, meanwhile, in a parallel co-op bank universe, another twin who looks just like me gets eaten by a giant snake. And can you guess what the giant snake's name is?
Jeff?
That's right, Jeff. It's Jeff. I get eaten by a giant snake, and I go, Jeff. And incidentally, that ad got broadcasting complaints because it was too scary for the kids. And I rewatched it, and it is actually kind of scary and funny. It's quite a good ad. I quite
a
like
great
it. I
ad.
get eaten by a giant snake, and then I just go to
Yeah.
sleep in there.
It's a great ad. It's hilarious. But it would be scary to imagine a giant snake eating someone.
If you're a kid, it's quite disturbing. Like if you were a little kid and you saw that, because I'm in there and it's all it's like you can hear the snake's stomach rumbling, and I'm in there and there's all this goo, which was KY jelly, like dripping onto me, and it's all red and creepy and scary. So I can see why the kids would be too scared, but those kids need to harden the fuck up because the world's scary.
The world's a scary place.
But yeah, I do think it's interesting that Jeff from the New World universe has an alter ego, John, who also shops at New World. Now, John is married and loves meatballs, but Jeff sneaks into people's homes and invites himself to parties. So I'm starting to think that maybe Jeff and John are actually the same person, and Jeff has a secret life, a second life where he sneaks into people's homes uninvited and calls himself Jeff, but he can't stop shopping at New World.
He gets off on it.
He gets off on it.
He gets off on sneaking into other people's houses, sneaking into parties uninvited.
Yeah. Now, Power of the Dog. The film by Jane Campion. You heard about this? So Power of the Dog. It's got that very famous actor in it. Benadryl Bumblematch, and this is the one that I auditioned for to act.
I thought it was the one. No, when you say you auditioned for, don't you mean that you chose not to audition for?
No, that's right. I said no to the audition.
This is the movie that you chose not to audition for.
Yeah. So I didn't,
because you didn't want to learn an American accent. You chose not to star in this movie. So, yeah, okay, yep, continue.
Okay, so Power of the Dog. I was asked to audition to act across from Benadryl Bumblematch, and in a Jane Campion film, and I said no to that audition, and I checked to see who got my role, and you know who got my role? It's Jesse Plemons. Jesse Plemons. Do you know who that is?
No.
So Jesse Plemons, he sort of looks like the fat average version of Matt Damon, and he is best known for his being a bad guy in Breaking Bad. He for Breaking Bad, and who also puts Jesse into a hole and guards him and tortures him for quite a long time. Do you remember? You remember him?
I vaguely remember Jesse being put into a hole and being tortured, but I don't remember the man that was doing the torturing.
You broke up there, so I didn't quite hear what you said.
Oh no, I don't remember him. I remember the torturing, but I don't remember Jesse Plemons.
Yeah. Well, he's sort of a chubby looking. He looks nice. He doesn't look like a bad guy really, but he plays quite a good bad guy in that. Well, he got it. So he got he got my role across from Benadryl Bumblemat
that you turned down.
Yeah. Tyler Adams says from Game Night. I'm not sure if he's referring to Jesse Plemons or Benadryl Bumblematch.
It's also the German dude in the Jungle Cruise movie. Yeah. He also just mentioned about that they're working on a sequel to District 9. Thoughts?
It was a good movie, and that sounds fine to me. I have no issue with them making a new one set in that world. Should be good.
Disagree. I think.
Why?
Well, here's the thing.
I'd rather them make a sequel to an original movie than just keep on making all these Marvel movies and all that other stuff.
Well, my issue is sometimes it's best if you make one classic, don't try and come back and do a Godfather 3. Is all I'm saying. Or a Terminator 3. What if you do an Aliens? What if you do a
Terminator 2?
That's the problem.
What if you do an Alien?
There's only one man who's ever made good sequels in the history of filmmaking. His name's James Cameron, and you've just listed those two videos.
Back to the Future 2?
Back to the Future 2 is still pretty far off Back to the Future. So we've got a... getting some messages from Gwen Stefani.
Yeah.
But anyway, so for me, I feel that Neil Blomkamp has really made one good film in his entire filmography, and it is District 9, which was amazing, was fantastic, but he's never, ever been able to recapture that quality or that standard with anything else he's ever done. And so I don't think that he's going to be able to recapture it even by going back to District 9. Chappie is like an awesome looking film, but I think lacks the substance of District 9, for example. Chappie was okay. I just thought Chappie was okay, but I didn't think it was amazing. So anytime his partner writes with him, it turns out good. So the jury is out. I'm kind of thinking it's not going to be amazing. Tyler is firmly in the amazing camp, and you think it's a good idea too.
I think it's a good idea because I want to support sci-fi, and I want to see more sci-fi being made, and that was a good sci-fi, and I feel like there's still probably stories to be told within that universe.
But why doesn't he just tell a different sci-fi? You know why? Because all the other sci-fis he's told have been kind of shit. Remember that Matt Damon one where he's on the other world and he's looking down?
Damon.
Remember that? What is that called?
Is it where you're in a big ring a big floating ring?
Basically, I didn't watch that. Yeah, I can't remember what it's called. Something about Tyler will know, but it's Matt Damon looking down at some other world, and it's the scummy world and the good world up the top, and I'm not sure.
Like what Bezos is trying to build up there.
What Bezos is currently working on.
Yeah, I'm all for it. Makes sense, right? Why not have a second?
Elysium. Thank you. Did you not watch Elysium?
Yeah. No, I meant to.
Yeah, it was not good.
Could do like to support sci-fi, and I did see a couple of little clips from it, and I thought it probably looked actually okay, but yeah, maybe it's not.
Not so great.
It looked alright to me though. But look, I'm all for it. Let's build it. Let's build an orbital, platform that people can live on up there. We'll offload a few people, leave them up there. Like we got make more space, more space on Earth. Have them up there. Have them growing their own food. have their own gravity because it's a big spinning ring like in Halo. Let's do it. I'm all for it.
Okay. Well, that covers the District 9, District 10, I should say.
Yeah, yeah. We did have a party last episode. We were just leaving we had to finish the episode to go next door and have a big party. Now it wasn't our party; it was my flatmate's party. The listeners like Ben Fowler, who didn't get an invite.
Yeah.
Shout out Ben. That was because it wasn't our party.
Yeah.
So you can come along to the flat warming that I'm sure we'll have at some point, the official one. But somebody now, I'm not gonna name and shame this person. I'm just gonna make up a name. I'm just gonna pluck it out of the air.
Okay.
I'm just gonna choose a name. Let's call this person Julie. Threw up on my carpet at that party.
Yeah.
Fucking Stadia throwing up on my brand new carpet. Like, it's got new carpet at the house, and also I'm the primary leaseholder, and we have a party, and next thing you know, there's puke on the carpet.
It's not a good start to
this is to being, I'm the one who's culpable.
Yeah. Lucky the carpet's pretty crap here. Oh no, you got new carpets. I forgot about that.
Yeah, my carpet's much better than your carpet.
Yeah, our carpet's the bad one.
Yeah. Fucking Stadia. But it was a good party though. Good fun. Good turnout.
It was a good turnout.
Good times.
Alrighty. Well, I mean, I think we've really covered your Olympic experience in depth and discovered
that I did nothing.
That you're up to fuck all. Well, everyone was so excited. Hey, when are you doing the Olympic episode? When are you going to talk about Harley? What are you guys? Oh, yeah, I was talking to Richard earlier, and he was like, oh, yeah, how's it going? How's the Traveller? He was very excited.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
we've shattered those dreams, and we've really put a pin on that one. So I think maybe it's time to wrap it up. I am still feeling pretty sick. I also have been charged with doing the dishes, and if those dishes don't get done, there's going to be trouble in paradise.
Yeah.
There's going to be a big... I'm going to be sick for a lot longer than this week, that's for sure.
Yeah.
What's that person that got slowly poisoned, They were getting slowly poisoned in their tea over a period of like a year or something.
I didn't hear about that one.
The guy got convicted anyway. I think it was... Yeah. So, anyway, that'll be me if I don't get these dishes done.
Right. Yeah. Well, I did. Do you know what a bidet is, guys?
No.
A bidet.
Oh, a bidet?
It's that bidet. Yeah, a bidet in the toilet.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Know what that
bidet. Yeah.
that one is.
I tried the bidet. And I think my butthole must be in the wrong place because it just didn't really work for me. It just made a mess, really. And there's even an option there to blow dry your butthole. But I don't see why you would. I tried it and I almost fucking vomited. I was like, why is there air blowing out of the fucking toilet that I've just taken a shit in, and blowing over my butthole and then into my nostrils? This is fucking heinous. This is disgusting. So.
I have to assume that
I'm not sure about that.
You were maybe using it wrong, but also you're not meant to drink from it.
No. Yeah.
For God's sakes, man, you're not meant to drink from it. But I think probably using it wrong. But also, you got to remember, who was this, really made for? I have to consider. I have to consider that maybe Harley's gone again. Is he coming back? I hope so. Just gonna wait a second. Oh, could this be the end of the podcast? Oh, he's back. Okay, so I have to consider. I have to consider that these are maybe made for Asian bottoms.
Yes. Smaller, less hairy bottoms.
Yeah, and they were never
Mm.
really factored on a man, a man with an asshole as hairy as yours, using it. You know, it was never designed for that. It was designed for
Yeah.
the pure, clean, soft, smooth butt, soft, smooth Asian butt. And
Yeah.
so, they would need a whole redesign for someone like yourself.
They would. Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, I guess
Yeah,
we can wrap it up. But I
yeah.
will just say to all of the listeners out there, make sure you get your vaccination, okay? It puts the needle in its skin, or else it gets the mask again.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
Yeah.
I like it.
So go out, get vaccinated. It's very important. Then you can live your best life like me, traveling the world.
Traveling from bus to a trailer to a hotel and back again.
Yeah. It has been very sunny though. I've been very happy to get out of New Zealand in the worst month of New Zealand winter. While you're there sniveling, all snotty
Cold,
nosed and
flu.
cold in your cold house. I am. It's 33 degrees here. I'm going to open these curtains in a minute behind me, and there's going to be hot sun streaming in. It's humid. It's hot. It's too hot, and I'm tanned. I got a tan. So anyway, on that note, facebook.com/Guy and Harley, patreon.com/Pigville, youtube.com/Pigville and the number 2. And also find Older the movie. Go to olderfilm.com and you can watch it there. You can also check out our film Immy the Vegan on Amazon Prime and Tubi. And also, you might as well watch I Survived the Zombie Holocaust while you're out there as well somewhere, if you like horror comedy zombie films. And we'll catch you next episode, which is going to be live from Isolation, MIQ, New Zealand Isolation. I'll be in there for 14 days, so we're going to do 14 episodes. And make sure you hit like. Make sure you hit like as well, everybody, on wherever you're watching this. Hit like.
Yeah, I mean, if we don't do 14, we'll at least do 1.
I imagine we'll do 1. Maybe 2.
Maybe
but
2.
I mean, really, what's the second one going to be about? I would have sat there in a room for another week. So unless I think up some good shit, or something interesting happens to you, then I don't imagine there'll be much to talk about.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Tyler, for joining us. Shout out to him. We've been having a couple chats online. It's good to see him back and with us and not too busy to have a chat and converse. He's had a few ideas too about YouTube. Green screen skits. You just set up the green screen, you do a skit.
I'm all for it.
There's one particular YouTube channel that has hit the gold mine, the gold rush, a gold mine, a pot of gold. They've hit something.
He's struck gold.
He's struck gold. He's hit a rich vein, and so it's essentially the Screen Rant YouTube channel, and essentially it's him opposite himself, so one actor against a green screen, and it's basically a pitch meeting for every single film that comes out. So basically it's the writer of the film and the studio executive. He plays both parts, and it's basically, so you have a movie idea for me? And he goes, that's right, sir, I do. And then he goes in to break down the plot of each film, whatever film it is, but essentially discussing the biggest plot holes and problems with it, and sort of making fun of it and the stupidity of the Hollywood machine. And it's genius because it really does involve, like, what it involves is he's got to watch these movies, or he probably doesn't anymore because he's probably got people writing, but he's got to watch these movies, he's got to record both sides of the conversation, and he's got to edit it together. So the editing is like the sort of the smallest, the biggest part of that. Yeah, there it is. Super easy, barely an inconvenience is his catchphrase. And it's quite magical. He's very clever. So the hard part is the writing of it, but the actual execution of it, each of these gets 1 million+ views per thing. And we all laugh along because we want we want our favorite films or our not so favorite films to be poked fun at. That's the goodness. That's what makes life worth living. So he's really struck on a pretty genius
let's
skit.
do it.
You got to think of the genius skit first, mate.
Well, get the green screen, do some improv, and write some notes, and we'll figure it out from there.
We can't do any improv, mate, because improv doesn't exist. You've told us that on the podcast. That's not a real thing. So we just get to the green screen and stand there looking like dummies.
Well, that might go viral. You never know nowadays. You go viral for anything. There's a guy who gets paid to go to sleep. He just live streams himself sleeping. He makes money out of it. He goes to sleep with his live stream camera on and wakes up and somebody's paid him. You can do anything nowadays. The internet. What a time to be alive.
So anyway, thank you very much, everyone. We should probably sign off. Shout out to Jared Murray as well. And we'll catch you all later.